Good afternoon. This is Christopher and Catherine, your favorite 401 couple. All right. Today we have a very special guest, Mahesh Natarajan, okay, the Chief Revenue Officer from Congruent Solutions. And we are very excited to be speaking with Mahesh today. Congruent is a retirement technology company focused on modern, flexible record keeping. That was the surprise for me, the record keeping. That was a big surprise. And digital retirement infrastructure, helping advisors, TPAs, and providers move away from legacy systems towards better operational efficiency and participant experiences. He sits in a unique seat across the industry, working directly with record keepers, TPAs, advisors, and partners. This gives him a front row view into what firms are actually struggling with right now and where retirement technology is heading next. We're going to break today's conversation down into two parts. Part number one, what plan sponsors, advisors, and providers are often getting wrong about retirement technology and record keeping. That should be good. And then where the industry is headed next. We're trying to get prognostication from every guest so we know what we're supposed to do for ourselves. This includes 2026 trends, AI, and what modern really means. Okay, now then, part of our shtick is I need constant snacks. Okay, so on the podcast, the guest gets to pick the treat. And Mahesh picked vegan cheese. Why? You can tell this is not my first choice, but we dive into whatever the guest asks for.
Why did I pick vegan cheese? I am a vegan. I went from a vegetarian to vegan. And I love cooking and all types of cheeses. And I thought we'll go with something unique, vegan cheese.
So we try to start off with a little lightning round. So this is a go-to drink. We don't necessarily mean alcohol. Go-to drink for early morning meetings or travel days.
Usually it's a protein shake, but what I prefer though is a diluted black coffee. So I mix half hot water and half diluted coffee so that it doesn't get too acidic. It still stays hot and I can keep sipping throughout the morning.
All right. I had my money on tea. I lose. Okay. Now then, next question. One misconception you hear all the time about record keepers or retirement tech platforms.
I think the misconception is really everybody think of this as a giant black hole. And it is daunting daunting for anybody, right? So the misconception is it's daunting to do anything, get anything done. I know you talked about wayback machines in some of your earlier podcasts, and people are trying to figure out how do I move from wayback machines to something more modern. And I think that's a misconception. It's doable. It just needs some will and some muscle power to get it done.
I'm known to disagree with people. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you slightly here in that, no, the legacy record keepers are the ones promoting that viewpoint. It's not so much our misconception of it. I'm not going to argue with the point that it's a misconception.
Right.
But it seems to be something they are very specifically promoting to cover up slow evolution, movement, improvement, whatever you want to call it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now then, a hobby or fun fact people would be surprised to learn about you.
I don't know if it's a surprise. I gave away the secret by talking about vegan cheese.
So now.
My next gig is going to be a culinary career after I'm done with the tech and retirement industry. I think my hobby really is weekends. I give my wife a break from cooking, and I, really do some fun stuff. Who are friends with me on Instagram will see some of those culinary creations.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
All right, so lead us into the real stuff, Catherine. Although this is usually the most interesting part.
So, in the first segment, we want to talk about what the market is getting wrong. So, how did you personally end up in the retirement industry? Because you're kind of recent into it. What led you into the revenue and growth side of a retirement technology company?
Sure. I joined this company about 2 years ago. So that is recent from a retirement standpoint. But prior to that, I spent 25 years with a consulting company working with life insurance, retirement, and other financial services companies. And what I have seen is this complexity is only growing. As a consultant, I was advising them. Despite all technologies, despite all the advancements in innovation, complexity is not going away, right? AI adds more to it, simplifies on one end, it adds complexity on the other end. Um, so that's how the technology said. But what really helped me gravitate towards this industry is really simple. A Mahesh or a Catherine or a Christopher will do fine because we have a little bit of familiarity to the industry. We're not an average Joe, and we'll make fine when it comes to accumulation, decumulation. But 99% of the population are not Christopher or Catherine or Mahesh.
Right.
And so an average person making $50,000 a year, they need a lot more help and they get the least help today.
Yeah.
And how do you solve for that, right? That has been something I've been at it for many, many years now. And so when I consulted and I found Congruent at least solving for a piece of that puzzle, because technology is the only way to get to that outcome, participant outcome, or how do I be more inclusive? How do I create access? So that's a short story of how I ended up at Congruent.
So, unlike most of us, you're in this industry on purpose, and you're here willingly. And you're
most of us, it's accident.
For most of us, it's either accidental or a hostage situation. So, okay.
Yeah.
Because you're now, I should have asked this at the beginning.
Right.
Okay. I don't do things in order.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the very, very interesting things about you being a guest
Mm-hmm.
on our podcast, okay, is that you had somebody from your side reach out to us, okay, and said he wants to be on the pod.
Wow.
Has he watched us? Why? Okay, what's the attraction?
I think what's the attraction is very simple, right? I think if you think about our company's founders, two of them, they founded this about 20 years back. And you talked about purpose, right? And they could have easily given up because you know how slow or fast the industry moves. But they've been stuck to it for those 20 plus years. And they continue to be, I would say, fascinated by the lack of, I would say, the speed of change in this industry. And that's why they even coined this tagline called ready for tomorrow, right? How do I help a rocket keeper TPA get ready for tomorrow? If they're ready for tomorrow, they get the sponsors ready for tomorrow, and who get the participants for ready for tomorrow. And that is a message that we want to really get out. It's just not about Congruent. Yes, there is a business objective, but also the possibility of there is an enormous opportunity for everybody in this industry. And nobody needs to see this as a set of challenges, but really see it as a set of opportunities. And we want that word get out in as many forums and podcasts and other ways possible. And so my marketing job apparently did a good job reaching out and asking for this podcast.
Okay, so then also now Catherine's the CFO. So what exactly is a chief revenue officer? And yeah, we're doing this out of order.
I know it's a new title, right? So think of me as everything that is a client-facing function, which means I'm responsible for developing the market. Sales, I'm responsible for sales. I'm responsible for making sure our relationships continue to thrive and we add value to clients. And clients using our product are also successful and realize the value. Right? All of this put together, including marketing, is what I call the chief revenue office. I'm responsible for that. One of our other co-founders has the opposite function, which is whatever I end up, selling, marketing, and doing, he needs to deliver really engineering functions and delivery functions.
Oh, because you said he had the opposite function. I thought you meant kick him off the platform. Okay, no.
No, he has to get it done.
Actually doing the work. Okay.
Whatever he promises,
Okay.
this other guy has.
No, he's not going anywhere. He's been here 20 years. He wants to see a lot more, more. So he's enthusiastic, young and enthusiastic.
So that's interesting. So marketing, sales, and relationship managers are basically under you. Okay.
Correct.
Cool. Now then, All right, back to the questions. Because you're talking to buyers, people are going to use your stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
What are firms actually frustrated with right now when it comes to record keeping or technology?
What are they frustrated with is this, right? Everybody has a simple way to put it, right? A complex environment they're operating on, and they're frustrated with moving at the speed at which the competitors are moving or even the market is moving because they're not able to move fast. I think that's the bottom line, right? Everybody is not able to move fast. But if you double click that, if you look at the smaller bundle rocket keepers, TPAs, their frustration is, there are just so many bits and pieces they constantly get bombarded with. Everybody wants them to buy a piece of technology and they already have 15 and they're worried about, look, if I add another 5, it's more headache for them rather than simplifying their life. So this is on the small end of the market, and which means they're going to be focused on doing all of this and not focusing on the sponsors and the participant outcome. Same thing, you could say that for our advisors, because every advisor has 15 different tools and they spend more time on the tools versus spending more time selling and advising. So that's the first frustration, right? That is just, despite technology, it's complex, is the first piece. I think for the larger ones, I would say, because I think you mentioned the legacy nature of the business, they're not able to quickly pivot to compete with the smaller fintechs that are starting to show up. And what that means is they can't even compete on price. They can compete on their scale, size, and everything else, but they cannot really compete on the cost per participant pricing because the smaller ones can do it better. So they're looking at, how do I move the needle fast and be like the fintechs or the retire techs? Maybe that's the right word. And how can I be like them, is the frustration. But invariably, large organizations struggle to get everybody aligned and move fast. And I think that's kind of how I would break it down between the smaller ones and then the larger ones.
Okay. And so the thing that was surprising for me
Yeah.
today and from the web article
Mhm.
is Congruent as a record keeping platform.
Yes, we do.
Since when? You got it hidden
What does
behind a
that mean?
cloaking device or what? Are you white labeling for other people or what is it?
It's a very good question, right? I think there is a little bit of misconception I also need to address.
Okay.
So we are a conflict-free business model. What I mean by that is we have a technology platform that anybody can white label who is a record keeper. So we are not a record keeper, we are not a TPA, but we make them better. So in other words, if there is a record keeper that wants to switch out a legacy platform with our technology so they can be more efficient, deliver better experience, and run a more effective business, we could be a choice. Same thing could be said of TPAs. But we are not a record keeper or a TPA, and we've been very conscious about not disintermediating those two.
Okay. So it is behind. Yeah. It's you're a service. What are you? You're a value-added reseller to other record keepers? Or I mean, you're adding. I think the website, the article on the web.
Right.
So Zach, we need to post a link to that. You were talking about like a module with how people buy modules for Salesforce is what you're doing.
Exactly. We think
Okay.
of us as the sales force for the retirement industry. That's the
Okay.
simplest way to think about it.
But I thought you were supposed to be cost effective.
Sometimes analogies are tricky, but yeah.
I'd have gone with HubSpot, but anyways. So from your conversations,
Yeah.
where's the biggest disconnect between what plan sponsors think participants want and what participants actually respond to?
Where is the disconnect between sponsors think and what participants respond to? That's a good question. Um, I'm just going to put myself as a sponsor and answer that first, and then I will put myself as a participant and answer that second. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
does.
Because I actually, even in my company, we're a small plan, right? We're not huge, so we have less than 20 participants in the US. So ours is a small plan. As a sponsor, we think participants are focused only on the savings or the accumulation aspect of it, but a decision is never made by a participant just on that sole savings aspect, right? How much do I serve? So it's a lot more holistic. And sponsors tend to think, look, I just need to figure out what's the deferral rate, how much is the match, how much is the contribution, and all other things. So there is a lot more that goes into the calculus. So that's the first thing we'll have to flip for every sponsor to think about. And then if I flip it as a participant, I really want sponsors or even record keepers or advisors to really solve for this silos. And I'll give you an example, right? I switched jobs, roughly 2 years ago. And my 401k plan from my prior company was record kept by one of the big three record keepers. And I left the job in April. And believe it or not, I didn't get a call from them until August to even figure out what are you going to do with your money. Are you rolling over to an IRA? Are you leaving it on the plan? Here is something we can help you. I don't have millions of dollars in it, but neither do I have $10,000, right? It's a meaningful amount of money, but it was the silos within these organizations as a participant, which is frustrating. And even after I agreed to move over the money from a 401k plan to an IRA, it took another month after all the paperwork. And this is a big name, not even a small one, right? This is a top 5 company. And as a participant, think about the experience, right? We talk about experience usually in terms of a website and a fancy mobile app. But this experience of somebody calling me after 4 months after I left the jobs and took another month to really roll it over is a poor experience. I could have just left, right? I could have taken the money and left them. But I think that is what I would say. People have to think about experience as these interactions and the time delays, not necessarily as the fancy mobile app, which is not going to do anything.
I'm going to argue with you again. I'm guessing. Since you said it wasn't $10,000, there's more than $7,000 in there. So regardless of what year it
Right.
wasn't subject to the automatic rollover. The record keepers want to hang on to your money.
Yes.
Then I'm surprised they call. So from my point of view,
Yeah.
I'm surprised they called within 4 months.
But if they,
No,
but if they have an internal IRA, they could.
That's what happened. So they had a self-directed and advised IRA, which is why they called me to move it over there.
And you stay with them. And that still took a month?
Yes. Here's the tricky part. In this time frame, what happened was my prior employer ended up leaving that record keeper, going to somebody else. So that is the trigger for them to call me.
You had a blackout in the middle of it. All right. Well,
wow.
You had a perfect storm.
But I just want to say it is part of what's hard about how the market is set up is a lot of times who really is the customer here?
Yes.
Is it the plan sponsor? Is it the participant?
Yeah.
And then what's the real work tied to? And some people are more tied to what's the money and the accounts, and we're more tied to the processes that keep it compliant.
Exactly.
So there's already some natural fractures within what people's interests are.
More friction.
Friction. But I'd say, there are some TPAs who work with, with IRA companies, in order to do that. But I can see it from a participant's point of view that you feel like nobody really paid attention. And I think that some of it is like, but whose football is that really?
It is. Right? It is. You bring up another point, right? I think it's my dream. I don't know it will happen soon, but I'm sure it will happen. If you think about the whole hierarchy of the industry, it's really a sponsor, a plan, and a participant. That's the hierarchy of things. My dream is someday, I'm thinking in the next 10 years, maybe it'll flip the other way around. So it is a participant at the middle of everything. And then I get to do things around the plan, and irrespective of the sponsors I move, I will have more control over it versus today it's the sponsor plan dictating what happens to a participant.
Yeah, it's
That's going to be a bit of a shift.
It is. It is. I just said it's a dream. It's not, it's not a prediction or anything. It's a dream.
And
But
I'd say, the other really big friction is that
yeah,
the participant is the person who has kind of the least knowledge and savvy in the whole thing,
Usually,
yeah,
yes.
usually, and we're all terrified of making a mistake. I
right,
mean, if we do distributions we weren't supposed to, that can be
right,
very, very painful. And
correct.
so I think there's some being conservative within the system that
Yeah,
you don't move money until you're very sure that it's right. And
correct,
so there's not the motivation to nudge you to move it.
Right. Right.
correct, correct.
All right. You want to do the next question?
Sure. So, what's one question advisors or TPAs should be asking the record keeper or tech provider for, but rarely do?
What is one question either a TPA or an advisor should be asking the record keeper?
But that they don't ask. Like what
What is
what
the
questions are
unasked
we really
question
not asking that we should be
that you
asking?
think we should?
What's our blind spot?
Yeah, it's a good question. So here is how I would say the blind spot is the record keepers are going to move as fast as their internal, let's say, complexities allows them to. So a question that an advisor or a TPA should be asking for is how is the sausage made, right? So while I know you need to care about the sausage itself because that's you really care about, it's a black box, but really get under the covers to figure out how fast they can move, get things done, whether you're onboarding a plan or servicing a plan, or even rolling over from a plan to an IRA, or setting up, let's say a student loan as a match capability. How is that exactly going to happen? So you can then figure out which one is of these record keepers you can place your business that's going to make not only your job easier, but your sponsors and participants. Really get under the covers of how all of this really gets executed internally, because that's where they're all struggling. And often you see all the veneer of whatever platforms and technology they have. But underneath that, it still could be elves running around doing things, and you don't want that. So I would,
Okay.
Actually love it. I think that is what you find underneath the hood. It's all
yes,
elves running around trying to do
So I
things.
think what you're asking is
yeah,
the technology real or not?
yes,
And the way you just said that, what made me find it, what was that Google or Amazon virtual store where nobody worked and everything was supposed to be done via AI or scanning?
right,
They actually had thousands of people the other side of the world frantically scrolling through
yeah,
security feeds to figure out what people were buying. There's absolutely nothing scanned or artificial AI in there. Yeah, we've heard about that.
right,
We've heard about that with some of these people promising automated payroll integration, and it's
yeah.
actually hundreds of people somewhere else hand typing it. So
I,
that's
I didn't want to say that, but that's true. And then
yeah.
I even heard the same thing about a digital record keeper that's low cost, and it's really people turning the wheels, which you don't see. And I think as a consequence, this is what happens, right? When people operate that business model, they're not making money because you are putting people at all of these things. And then on top of it, if you're using people, it's slow, and that causes a poor experience. And maybe that's what I experienced 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. Or somebody just doing their darndest. Okay, segment number 2, halfway
Yeah.
there, Maj. The 2026 outlook,
Mhm.
industry shifts, and technology.
Yeah.
So, from your vantage point on the revenue and partnership side,
Yeah.
what excites you the most about the upcoming year, 2026?
So for me, the excitement comes in a couple of spaces, right? Again, as a company, we have made a lot of investments, and I think we're starting to see adoption of the technology platform that we have. So what that means is, I think the market is willing to shift from the inertia that it had. So that's the first piece of excitement. I think the second piece of excitement for us is we don't fashion ourselves as an island. And I think we're starting to connect the dots as an ecosystem. So we're no more On our own, we can do very little. And I think that's been the case all along. But I'm starting to see partners. For example, we have one partner reach out and say, hey, look, if you're doing this software, we have something that will automatically aggregate all my old 401k into the new plan or help roll over into IRA money. So, what if we work together? The third one is a student loan platform saying, hey, look, you have a platform, we should maybe connect because end of the day, we can serve a sponsor and a record keeper. So that's the art of the possible by connecting these dots is really exciting for me, for us, because it's eventually good for our clients.
Okay, so you've used a phrase maybe
Mhm.
9 or 10 times here, and
Yeah.
it was on the web article
Yeah.
that for me in our space is nails on a chalkboard. Okay, you keep talking, and I almost want to have Zach bleep it every time you say it. Okay,
All
and I'll
right.
explain why in a second. You don't
I don't know what you're
Catherine's
going to
no
say.
idea where
I
I'm
have no
going
idea
here.
where
I,
he's
I'm
going.
not being rude. Okay,
I
I
know
don't.
where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to find out
Okay,
too.
the match,
Yeah.
the student loan match
Hmm.
instead of okay. Do you have any idea, even with payroll integration, how hard it is for us to
Yeah.
get reliable information from one source? And
I hear
now
you.
people are proposing we get it from multiple sources
Yeah.
prior to doing testing.
Yeah.
Okay. There's also much easier ways of doing this
Yeah.
than what secured. I don't even remember. Was it 2.0 or 1.0?
2.0. Yeah.
There's other ways of going about this. So
Right.
it's just funny because you're talking about it from your end, and from
Yeah.
our end is like no. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a student debt payroll connector verifier thing for employers to sell? And if not, when are you planning on releasing it?
We don't have one. We're building one, so it should be around, say, end of this year, because we
So
have. Yeah.
is that going to be a standalone product that somebody can have without anything else they buy from you?
It will be part of our payroll contributions module.
Okay.
That'll be part of that. But let me take this back, talk to my product team, and I'll keep you posted. Maybe end of the year if it could be done separately.
And then if you come to market, I want a little bit, a little taste here. Okay. All right.
I'll send vegan cheese.
Oh, great. Hey, I thought I gave you a good idea. What did I do wrong? Man. All right. Fine. All right.
Noted.
Okay. Okay. So then the next one. So what concern or risks are retirement firms underestimating right now? I got my own. It's going to be interesting to see what you see.
Yeah. What risk are the retirement firms underestimating? I think I would say the regulatory stuff. While AI is what I was thinking, which everybody is going to say, we're underestimating the power of AI and its influence on everything we do. But I would just say, I don't think regulatory changes are going to be slowing down. It's going to be more, and then you add, whether it's a Trump account, and there are going to be things like that. Everything just adds more complexity. I think the complexity coming at them is probably what everybody is underestimating.
Okay, so I'm going yes and okay,
Yes. Yeah.
100% agreement with you, but I want
Hmm.
to add to that a little bit if I
Please.
can,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it seems like these legacy systems were made out of concrete, okay, and tempered steel, and built in the 1500s
Yeah.
so that there's no flexibility. All right. And we are not going to have a slowdown in things that they need to add on to and
Yeah.
variables that they need to have. And I
Hmm.
think they're it's gonna I, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, but I don't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to say this politely, which is not my normal way of doing things. Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of agreeing with me that every legacy system needs to start from scratch and have a really truly flexible, scalable,
Yeah.
cloud-based, non on-prem
Right.
thing developed, right?
Absolutely. I think that's the dilemma everybody is having, right? How do I change it fast enough because nobody has an appetite for massive investments when you are making pennies on record keeping. I think a thought is emerging. Nobody has pulled the trigger on it. I think they've tried it on the small plan side, which is, start a greenfield initiative for the small plan and give it to one of these new retire tech platforms. But nobody has really put effort, money into a greenfield approach, because all you keep doing is, to your point, maybe take the concrete, chip away a few things and add something. It's really patching it. That's what continues to happen. But nobody has taken a bold step saying, look, I'm going to go greenfield and over a period of time grow the greenfield to be my future business. And this concrete thing, let it just go away. And I think whoever is going to make that bold bet in the next 2 3 years is probably going to be the next Fidelity or Empower, or whoever has 10 plus million participants.
Right, because you're talking about them making pennies. Well, at some point they're not. They must have it. I'm hoping they have it life cycled out when they think they're going to not even be making pennies with their current solution. So
But
exactly.
I think it's really hard that the whole industry for a while has been going through fee compression, right?
Right. Right.
And we're at a certain point where we go to fee compression.
Yeah.
And now we have an event that
Right.
actually takes a lot of money to create the new things to then step off.
Multiple events since 2017.
Yeah.
What do you mean by multiple?
Secure 1,
right.
COVID, Secure 2, and we got Secure 3 on the way.
I think, these companies went from paper and pen and stuff like that to software, right?
Yeah.
And that at a time when software wasn't as complex and the needs weren't as complex, because you're just making simpler processes a little faster. But now we're making hard things faster, and or not even faster, and the complexity is kills it. And the thing is, I don't know if we're trying to move so fast that we never actually get a feel that things either feel simpler or more elegant or more straightforward. I feel like as soon as you start to understand the software just a little bit, update it, change it, and break it. Sometimes it worked last year, it's broken this year. And so I'd say there's a real difficulty being in the development cycle of this whole process. And that's what makes this whole thing hard. All the bells and whistles look beautiful, but living through the process is painful.
I'm smiling.
No,
I'm smiling because I read ahead.
Okay.
I should have remembered what the next comment or question was, and maybe done these in a different order. Sorry, but modern record keeping gets thrown around constantly. What do you think actually separates a modern platform from legacy providers? And maybe we've already answered that.
I think what it separates is, Katherine was just answering that, right? It is just modern doesn't mean it's a fancy, front end or a mobile app. Modern to me really means, to your point, make life easy for whoever is uploading a payroll or correcting errors, or whoever is trying to get a distribution, right? Make life easy for everybody. The second one is ability to pivot fast, whether it's Secure 1, 2.0, or 3.0, or whatever gets thrown at you. You're not sweating and you're able to get things done faster. Is the second one. I would say that's modern. I think the third one is also equally important. If it is modern, your own employees, whether you're a TPA or a record keeper or everybody in between, an advisor, there is an employee experience aspect to this that we often forget. Because otherwise it's your employees who are downloading a spreadsheet, editing it, uploading it, keying it in all of these things. So there is that other aspect. If you pair all of this together, to me, if a system enables these things so that you're effective and you are efficient and you're taking care of employees, whether you're in the record keeper or a TPA or everybody in between, including sponsor, that is a modern technology capability.
Which in some ways sounds like a modern management thing.
It is.
It's just as much management as it is technology.
It is.
And
it is.
I'd say That's actually just as hard as developing the technology, is having the skill to manage it well.
It's funny you said that because, these day and age, AI can code everything, right? I mean, technically, it's possible, not everything, but most of it. And I always get asked, okay, if AI can program, create these things in minutes, maybe days, what is stopping us from creating this modern platform? Yeah,
Yeah,
Money.
yeah, but even AI,
AI can't make money.
it can't
yeah,
make money, but the development
Burn it.
cost of
Right.
technology is such that that's
right.
one variable conceivably going down, but it doesn't seem like it.
That's one.
Which is a very, very. Did he get? Did he get the questions? Did you get the questions ahead of time, Mahesh? Because your statement actually really leads 100% into the next one. Okay,
Go for
so
it. Yeah.
where do you think AI will genuinely change retirement operations versus just create hype?
Where will it change? Uh, it's the easy answer. It is going to genuinely change where there is boring work. The boring work, what I meant by that is simple things. How do I take a existing plan document, read it, interpret it, and set up a plan, or use that to compare with something I'm proposing and take all of that and key it in. That's a lot of effort there, right? So I call a lot of boring problems, trust statement accounting is another one. There's a lot of, I would call, hidden problems because this industry, as you know, is all about moving data back and forth, mostly in spreadsheets and emails. And to me, that is where the number one application of AI, and it's already happening. It's just not a future state. It is happening today. And that's a big lift for everybody, every stakeholder, not just record keepers, but for you who is in the TPA advisor space as well as a sponsor. So that's the first space I look at. Let's solve for boring problems. I think as we get into more advice, this is where it gets into a thin line of, is it compliant or is it biased and all of those things. So I would think of that as the first step in serving people whatever insights and advice we want to serve them, but still augmented by an advisor. I would say that's the second area where I think AI is really going to make a difference. The third one for us as a technology company, I cannot keep saying, oh, we have modern technology because we'll be old within a matter of months, not even years. And we got to constantly use AI to make that modern platform even better. And that's the other space, not just for us, for every technology provider out there. Are they using it to produce the modern platform? And that's the three areas I would say AI is going to make a huge difference. Everything else people do today, right? Drafting emails, taking a document and summarizing it. That, it's become common. It's like writing an email has become a AI skill set for everyone. So I'm not adding that to my list, but those are my three.
Okay, so we're going to add a twist onto that or
Yeah.
expand on a little bit. So, in your general industry,
Mm-hmm.
your opinion,
Yeah.
what is the biggest AI hype out there that is just hype? It's not really helpful. Is there an example of something that you can think of that's an almost egregious description of AI hype that's really not going to help for in our industry? I don't have an answer. I'm just
Right. I'm thinking hard on
riffing off
this.
what you're saying. So
I think the good news for us in the retirement industry is there is not a lot of hype in AI.
well, there's not a lot of baseless hype. There's a lot of hype, but
Right.
it's got some solidity to it. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. Wow. You have managed to survive
Yes, I did.
almost entirely your very own 401 couple podcast experience. There's one
That's,
more thing you have to talk about before you're released from
yep.
this situation. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the one piece of advice you would give plan sponsors, advisors, TPAs, or record keepers who want to stay competitive over the next 3 to 5 years? It's your closing soundbite and then some.
The one advice I give for everybody is I think this came from even, I think they spoke about this at the World Economic Forum. You got to shift from ease of doing business to speed of doing business. I think I say that to my own business. I say it to myself, right? It's I think the ease of business can be solved if you can shift the mindset to doing, the speed of doing business. That's my advice, not just to record keepers and TPAs, but even to ourselves.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very
fantastic.
much.
Thank you.
And for our one viewer out there is not my mother, you have survived another episode of the 401 Couple. Please look for there should be some links down below. Please look for our other, the Planner Key podcast and our YouTube channel and our other LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. And of course, if you have any specific questions for us, please feel free to email us at sales@hunterbenefits.com. All right. Take care, everybody. And Mahesh, thank you so much. I'm so glad somebody reached out to us and we're like, hey, this is interesting. So I'm so glad you've been on the podcast. This is great. Thank you very much for showing up. Truly.
We've loved the conversation.
Thank you, Chris and Katherine. It was just amazing, wonderful, fun conversation. So I look forward to staying in touch and we'll go from there.